Hello guys. Hello. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody didn't get wiped out with Mr. Kache. Hey, it's been a long time, brother. It's been a long time. Good busy. Mr. Sanjo. I like how you take action very quick, you know. I like how you take action very quick. I saw what we spoke about the weekend in East London. I think it was like the following Monday. You were busy doing the thing. That is awesome, man, to see. It's very, very good to see. So today is it's a Sunday. I've got my panois making a noise outside, and so let's try to make it a bit snappy. Limpo, afternoon leadership. So I wanna hear like from everybody what everybody thinks regarding what's happening in crypto right now with FTX and the whole saga. Well, the whole thing started with Terra Luna, right? I believe that these guys were, even though they did their own shenanigans, but I believe in the main they were also affected by the Terra Luna saga. But it started with the Terra Luna saga, where this whole thing is. I'll talk about my thoughts about it, but I want to hear what everybody else thinks on what is happening with FTX and so forth. I see there's a lot of this talk that was around, I think, 2017, of saying that not your keys, not your money, right? 100% in agreement with that. So we're going to talk just loosely about everything, if that is okay with everybody. We're going to talk loosely about everything, including things like, centralized exchange, decentralized exchange, the state of crypto, probably what's coming for crypto and all of that, the possible scenarios and all of that. I don't know in South Africa if there's anyone who has had this conversation. Maybe they've had it in their close quarters, but I really want to encourage us as crypto people, as crypto enthusiasts, to really hold conversations like this, right? This is for our benefit. It's also for the benefit of those who don't understand what's happening out there. Everybody's going to be looking at everybody's going to be looking at charts, right? I mean, sort of news headlines saying this guy went from being worth, I don't know, what, 20 billion to worth 0 billion in a day. So people are going to look at that and they will think that crypto is, they will think that, crypto is really not a good place to be in and so forth, without really understanding the facts, right? So I think it's important for us to uncover the facts to the best of our knowledge and share them to the best of our knowledge so that people can get to understand what happened. So firstly, we had the Terra Luna saga, where Do Kwon, the creator of Terra Luna, arguably there were some shenanigans happening there. But what happened was Terra Luna was tied to a stable coin, which was called it's one of those stable coins that are called an algorithmic stable coin, right? So it uses certain algorithms. I don't want to get into the technical specifics, but what happened was this particular stable coin lost its peg, causing a lot of panic in the market, and it becomes a snowball effect, right? Everybody starts selling, and once one sell, it becomes a snowball effect. We saw this in 2017 with Bitcoin, having reached over $300,000 rands. And then it started falling down because everybody thought this thing was going to zero. It was too good to be true. And everybody panicked and everybody started selling. It became a whole, pandemonium. But the nice thing about this is that whatever happens, right? Whatever happens, the market always finds a balance somewhere. And then it continues to stabilize from there and it continues to build, because the truth of the matter is that the crypto market is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's not going anywhere, right? If anything, it's giving regulators all around the world a bit of headache in terms of, so what do we really focus on right now as regulators? Do we focus on KYC and AML? Whilst we're looking at that, do we also focus on protecting customer funds? Do we drive regulation according to that? Or do we focus on who gets to create a coin, who gets to create a cryptocurrency exchange? What kinds of licensing regime do we have to put in place for such people? So there's a lot of moving parts in and around this. And whilst they're looking at that, then there's decentralized finance. So what do we do with decentralized finance? How do we regulate, decentralized finance? So, then there's DAO. So it becomes a whole new, and you must remember, the regulators have been trained in classical law, right? They've been trained in classical finance, right? So you can't really look at crypto through the lens of traditional finance or through the lens, of traditional law. So it's a whole mess, guys. It's a whole mess. But some regulators are actually finding ways to work around this. If you look at the reports coming from the IMF, look at reports coming from the World Bank, look at reports coming from the UN, look at reports coming from the United Nations, all of them talking about crypto, you realize that there's a bit of understanding, there's a bit of misunderstanding on what crypto is and why crypto exists. Maybe for the sake of those who don't really understand, right now there are talks of a central bank backed stable coin, right? Or a central banked coin, not necessarily a stable coin, but a central backed digital currency, as they call it, right? CBDCs. So I think even there's a bit of misunderstanding. See, if we go back to what Bitcoin is and why Bitcoin exists, what makes Bitcoin fantastic, it's not the fact that it's digital. A lot of people, make that mistake of thinking what makes Bitcoin best is the fact that it's digital. There's no paper, there's no notes, there's no coins. That's not what makes Bitcoin fantastic, right? But what does make Bitcoin fantastic is the fact that some of the stuff, it's because of the position I hold now, it's not so easy to say, but I'll go ahead and say. So what makes Bitcoin special is the fact that it's uncensorable. That's number one. Number two, it's completely decentralized. The financial monetary policy of Bitcoin is 100% transparent, whereas it's not the same when you look at your central banks, right? Thanks for killing. It's messy, but I think it's good for the rest of the other centralized exchanges to do the right thing. I'm 100% with you, and I'm going to come on that, Mr. Msa. But I think we have to talk about the foundation of why crypto is, right? We must understand that Bitcoin has created right on the ashes of the 2008 financial crash, which people want to have a short memory right now. People have often forgotten the 2008 crash and how it affected the world, not just one market, it affected the whole world. People have a short memory in terms of why that happened and how that happened. For those that don't understand why that happened and how it happened, you might want to look at a movie on Netflix called The Big Short, right? Have a look at that. It will explain to you why we got into the crash in 2008, right? So it's very fascinating to watch and to see why we got to where we are. And then Bitcoin was then created on the back of that to say that, you know what, it's impossible to get rid of this financial system. It's so entrenched. You know, these people have built this over hundreds of years. But what we can do, this is me now imagining what's going through the mind of Satoshi. What we can do is simply create an alternative. You know, people can then choose if they want to be part of the alternative or they want to be part of the trusted and established, you know, financial system. And that's how Bitcoin began. But of course, off the back of what Bitcoin has done, everybody else started then innovating, saying, so if Bitcoin can do this, how about we add this or that, you know? And most of them realized that the blockchain that supports Bitcoin as a currency did not support all these other innovative ideas that they wanted. There was a lot of debate back in 2017 about the scaling solutions for Bitcoin, the fact that, you know, Bitcoin cannot scale on chain and stuff like that. And then we had SegWit, segregated witness, and then we had, I mean, there were so many. That's where, you know, Bitcoin Cash actually came out. Now Bitcoin Satoshi Vision came out of Bitcoin Cash. We've had so many versions of Bitcoin that come out of that debate. And we had the Lightning Network, which is predominantly what everybody's using right now, the Lightning Network, which is like a second layer solution to Bitcoin, much like Polygon is to Ethereum, you know, and so forth. So, you know, off the back of that, then we had, you know, things like Ethereum being built, you know, which you know, came with this whole thing of, why now? My lighting is not making me happy. It's disturbing me. I was looking like a yellow bone there for 1 second. Now it's not giving me joy. Okay. Anyway, so see, I'm disturbing myself now with things that don't matter. I'm disturbing myself with things that don't matter. Okay. So off the back of that, we had Ethereum, right? Ethereum came and introduced the issue of smart contracts. You know how the interesting thing about smart contracts, guys. You know, it's funny because these are the things we've been speaking about for years, right? And we're finally seeing them. So myself, Mzi, and Vusi were a meeting with another lawyer. This guy was talking about smart contracts and how smart contracts are actually eating the lawyer's lunch and are going to eat the lawyer's lunch going forward. It's fascinating how we can create an alternative to the stock exchange, the JSE, through smart contracts. And it's fascinating to see what is still yet to happen, right? But what is important is that you know, we understand what this thing is all about. Okay, so you know, from there, you know, then we had, you know, people thought of so many different things, you know, that could be done through the blockchain, right? Where we saw, you know, things like you know, NFTs being minted. Forget the JPEGs, forget the pictures, forget the monkeys. But I'm talking about what NFTs can potentially do. And, you know, working with this law firm, I've really seen what NFTs can do. You know, there's one NFT which you will know about very soon, where if you buy this NFT every Mandela Day, it actually spits out, and that's the word he used, right? It actually mints out or releases out new tokens, right? I'm not gonna tell you about it now, but every single Mandela Day, it mints out new tokens. So as long as you're holding this NFT, you know that on this particular day, you are actually going to get new tokens, right? And those tokens already have got value in the market and so forth. Fantastic things are happening in the blockchain space, right? So, but, you know, coming back to, you know, to where we are right now, what is important to note is that even if Binance being the biggest centralized exchange right now and the biggest player in the market, even if Binance were to collapse tomorrow, it will still not stop what crypto can do. You guys have to understand that. So, in fact, if the price of Bitcoin right now is sitting at what? I think it's sitting at about 16,000 something dollars. You know, if Bitcoin right now, the price goes to $5,000, $1,000, it still does not mean that Bitcoin cannot do what it was intended to do. What Bitcoin can do is not necessarily tied to the price of Bitcoin. It's not tied to the price of Bitcoin. Can I send right now Bitcoin to someone who is in Kenya without them ever knowing me and me knowing them, without me having to have done KYC with them, and I can do any amount I wish, and in a matter of seconds, this guy will have the Bitcoins? That is still the case, irrespective of what the price of Bitcoin is, right? So whether the price of Bitcoin goes to $100,000, goes to $1,000, it's immaterial in terms of what Bitcoin was intended to do. But people like us have come in and we have messed up the whole space by being so focused on price and price and price, without necessarily being focused on infrastructure, making sure that we create this alternative world of finance that cannot be censored, that is completely decentralized, and so forth, right? So that's something that we have not focused on. So that is why I started this by saying I want to urge all the guys who are in the crypto space that let's do more of talks like this, where we actually get to educate people on what's really happening in the cryptocurrency space and why it's happening and what's likely to happen. So off the back of what has happened with FTX, it is a sad story because it's one of the people I personally look up to in terms of how quickly the exchange grew, how they were able to do what they've done in such a short space of time. So it's sad in that sense, right? It's sad in the sense that there's been a lot of people who have come to financially depend on FTX, people working for FTX and stuff like that. It's sad in that particular sense, right? So I was trying something there. So it is said in that particular sense that there's so many people, friends of ours, who are working for FTX, who are deriving an income from FTX. So it is said in that particular sense. It's also said in the sense that there are people who had money invested there, investors and also clients, with their funds in FTX. So it's said in those particular sense. But what does it mean? It simply means that the regulators right now will, of course, when I say regulators, people are, you have two camps, right? If you look at the US, if you look at other countries, you've got two camps. You've got those who believe in the technology, who believe in why it exists and why it should exist. And then you've got those who think this is unnecessary. We already have got our JP Morgans, we've got our Wells Fargo, we've got all our big banking darlings, right? So we don't need this thing where people are losing money, right? It will be interesting for you to maybe do a homework for yourself and just check. If you will look at the biggest companies that have ever been fined for malpractice, biggest companies who have ever been fined for malpractice, you will be shocked to find out which sector has got the biggest fines. Someone might think, maybe pharmaceuticals. Not quite. You can research and find out, right? I'm not gonna tell you on this live. So you get that. But in the back of this, something beautiful has started to happen, and that is exchanges have started now to publish their wallets, their public keys, where people can check, this particular exchange is holding this amount of tokens in Ethereum, in Solana, in whatever, Shiba Inu, Dogecoin, whatever the case is. So now they are actually starting to publish this, right? A lot of other exchanges were actually doing this, but not necessarily publishing, but they were preparing what they call proof of funds reports, right? I was with an auditor 2 days ago talking exactly about, about such stuff that we want done for our exchange, right? So there was already stuff happening in place from other exchanges where people were actually publishing, whether through their newsletters, whatever the cases, but people were actually publishing and doing what they call a self-audit to show that this is what, the proof of funds for clients' funds, right? So the industry itself is capable of self-cleaning, but of course, human beings, in the words of CZ, human beings have not advanced so much that we don't need law. We're not there yet as a species, right? We still are going to find people looking for cut corners. We're still going to find people wanting to make a quick buck and so forth. So that is why regulation is definitely welcome, especially with instances like this, where that had to do with with clients' funds. One of the things that you don't want to do, or that you can learn from this experience, is leverage. I know what it's like to be highly leveraged and get liquidated overnight. I know what that feels like. That's what happened with FTX. These guys, they got too confident, and to make it even worse, they used their own token, as collateral for their loans, which is something that I don't think they should have done. Maybe they could have used Bitcoin, or even a stable coin for that matter. But they decided to use their own coins, as collateral, which meant the whole house of cards. So, but then what does this mean for centralized exchanges? Do we still need centralized exchanges? Do we still need centralized exchange in the light of what happened? So I'm probably going to be biased, but my answer is yes. And let me tell you why. My answer is a definite yes. We still need centralized exchanges. The reason is this. The decentralized finance right now will not drive adoption as it stands right now. Will not drive adoption. Why? People will lose money. People will lose money by their own mistakes, right? We are not there yet in the state of crypto. My thesis is that you've got two kinds of people in crypto. You've got the new people who are still learning the space, and then you've got the people who are more adventurous, who've been in the space for a while. So now centralized exchanges are catering for people who are still new in the space. I'll give an example. Somebody passes away and they haven't left their private keys. Who's going to have access to that money? That money then lost forever. What happens in the case of a centralized exchange? Somebody loses their loved ones who never got the chance to share their private keys, right? Their login details, let's call it that, right? From a centralized exchange, and people know that he had funds there. The friends, the members of the family can contact the centralized exchange, provide proof of his death, provide proof of who they are in relation to this particular person, and they'll be given access, to the funds of that particular person. Now, in the case of decentralized finance, somebody passes away and they haven't given anybody their private keys. That money is gone forever, right? Like forever, So this is why we still need centralized exchanges. To provide an off-ramp and on-ramp between fiat and crypto, you definitely need a centralized exchange. What I do advocate for, though, is the money that you're not trading, there's no reason for you to keep in a centralized exchange. And that's coming from someone who's launching a centralized exchange, right? The money that you are not, unless you are staking, right? Unless you are staking, and even there, unless you are staking, but the money that you're not staking, you're not doing anything with, you've got no reason for you to actually have it lying on a centralized exchange. You can create, your private wallet and keep your money there. You can buy a hardware wallet, So these are the things that, I will personally be teaching on in the next coming days, weeks, and so forth, right? Because I still think that there's been a huge gap that has been left, in the cryptocurrency education space, purely because and I'm going to put myself in the basket there purely because we taught about crypto based on where we're going to derive commission, right? We taught about crypto because there was a way for us to make money. So how about we teach about crypto for the sake of teaching about crypto, right? And then getting people to understand, crypto for understanding crypto. Because even when we did, most of us, even when we did teach about, there's a lot we taught about that was beyond the call of duty, that was beyond the commission point, right? We taught about decentralized finance when there was nothing in it for us in the decentralized finance, right? So, but what I'm saying is that we need to continue in that trajectory of basically teaching about crypto. So I think the crypto space is very resilient. It can only grow stronger from here, from what happened with the FTX and so forth. I think all the other smaller exchanges, are basically, I love what CZ is doing with Binance. They're basically leading the charge to say that this went wrong, and therefore let's do this to basically make up for the wrong, right? And that's what CZ is doing with Binance, and it's been encouraging to see so many other exchanges also publish their own holdings, right? Something that they've never done before. Publish their own holdings to say, these are public keys, these are the coins that we have, that we hold in custody for clients, on behalf of clients. So that has been quite refreshing. And I think, from the ashes of what happened if you were to do yourself a favor and check on the history of all the mishaps that happens in the cryptocurrency space, you'll find that there's always something, that came out of that was a good. You can do that. After Mt. Gox, we had Binance being born. We had Coinbase being born, right? After FTX, there's going to be other global players that are going to be born, that are going to try and do things better, learning from the experience of FTX, right? And I don't think FTX is possibly going to be the last cryptocurrency player that's going to bite the dust. This space is still too young. There's still going to be a lot more companies, projects that are still going to see the dust up until the industry matures. Look at the banking sector. How old is the banking sector? We still had, banks biting the dust even today. It's just the nature of business, right? So it doesn't mean that the banking sector is good or bad. It doesn't mean that crypto in itself is good or bad. But I think it's a good time for people to get involved right now, and start playing in the space. I think it's a very, very good time. As Limpo said, she wishes that she had 500,000 liquid to go and buy up crypto right now. I share the same sentiments. We might not necessarily see this price ever again. You don't know, right? You just never know with crypto. But chances are, what's important to note is that everybody's still building. The builders are still building. The builders have not stopped. Projects have not stopped. Everybody's still building the ecosystem. The ecosystem is growing every single day. There's conferences happening all over the world, teaching about best practices for crypto. So the industry is growing. So it's important for us to note that without just looking at the price and looking at up into FTX and think it's all doom and gloom. The industry is growing, right? I want to encourage, I want us to encourage, all the young guys, young people, young and old, in fact, to really look at building interesting projects in the space. So many people are doing so many interesting things, which is exciting to continue building, guys. Let's continue building crypto. I think I said yesterday, I said that Africa will actually have more real world use cases for blockchain than any other part of the world. Africa will have more real world use cases for blockchain than any other part of the world. Definitely, right? Why? Because we've got more problems here than anywhere else in the world. So we're going to use blockchain to basically solve some of those problems. One of the things that I was noting from some of the guys in Africa talking about blockchain and so forth, some are talking from an academic point of view, some are talking from an entrepreneurial point of view. But I do want to note that it's important that we don't shy away from the fact that as much as blockchain is about solving a problem, if you don't have commercial viability in solving any problem, that problem is not going to get solved. If you don't have any commercial viability in solving a particular problem, that problem is not going to get solved. There's so many problems out there. The reason why people are not solving them today is because there isn't any commercial viability or incentives for people to solve them right now. So this thing, when we talk about blockchain and we shy away from talking about making money, for me, it's like it's a backward thinking. It's not going to get us anywhere. I see people trying to tiptoe around, and I've been on a few blockchain conferences. I see people try to tiptoe around. I guess it's because of all the scams, I understand. But people are tiptoeing around the fact that, as we solve this problem, we're going to make money. Everybody's tiptoeing around that, and nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody's going to solve any problem if there's no commercial viability for that. So let's stop this talk about blockchain for the sake of blockchain and try to make ourselves like we are what. You understand? So we're gonna build blockchain projects and we're gonna make money doing so, right? And we're gonna make the world a better place in the process doing so. That's just the bottom line. Because if we don't do that, how do we then go on and solve and continue solving other problems if everything we're doing is not commercially viable? So guys, let's wear the right hat as we continue to build. So thank you very much, guys, for joining me today. I know I spoke a lot. I don't even know how many minutes yet. Spoke a lot, but excited we're talking crypto again, man. Excited to be talking crypto again. Yeah, I think I want to do this. I want to do these lives every now and then, talking about crypto. We'll find few aspects to talk about. One of the things we can talk about is I want us to talk about is the intersection between DeFi and CeFi, the intersection between centralized finance and decentralized finance. Because guys, you will never find a market mushrooming out of somewhere without having rails or reference to the previous market. You're not gonna find that. So, and if we are saying all centralized finance is bad and we want to go to decentralized finance, not everything centralized is bad. Not everything decentralized is good, right? I once made an example and I said, imagine if you had a decentralized family. You've got a mom staying in Cape Town, the kids are in Bloemfontein. You understand? Maybe that's a bad example because so many decentralization is happening out there. But you get what I'm trying to mean, right? Not everything about decentralization is good. Not everything about centralization is bad, okay? So, but it's important for us to pick out the best from both worlds and try to build something better, try to build something bigger, start trying to build something more equitable, so yeah. Thank you guys. Have a great evening. Love you all. Stay blessed.